Hey, it's Joe Crump. I wanted to tell you about some other types of investment properties that I think make sense. When we're talking about analyzing deals, you want to be able to go out and find deals that make sense. And there's so many people that are offering properties right now, and so many of them don't make sense. And I've been trying to show you over this series of videos that I've been creating here what does make sense. And this video today is another type of investment that I sell personally that I think makes a lot of sense. It's a type of investment that requires no manager. What we do is we buy these properties in bulk, and I work with another investor who is buying them in bulk. I'm not personally buying these properties, and they're from a bunch of different places in the country. And we buy them in bulk, and then we don't do any work to them, and we sell them to end users as is condition. The end user, the person who's going to live there, goes in and buys it from us on a land contract. A land contract is an agreement with us to pay I believe it's 10% interest over 15 years, I think is what we've got on these things. And they'll pay them off over that period of time. And essentially what they're going to do is pay us, the deed holder, their payments until that 15 years is up. So what we're doing is selling you the deed. So you become the deed holder, and you become the person who collects the money. Now we're going to sell it to you at a discount from what we sold it to them. So you're getting it cheaper than what they're going to pay for it and what their note is for. So essentially it's like buying a discounted note, except you're on the deed. So if they default, it's easier to get rid of them. And so again, I've talked about being the one in control, being the one who's most protected in a transaction. This puts you in the most control because you have the deed on the property. It also, by buying it under market, they're buying it, first of all, under market value, because almost all these that we set up, if you look at the comps on the properties, we try to cut the price to the person who's buying on a land contract, because we want them to stay in that property. We want them to have a good deal. We want them to stay there and make their payments. And if we have to take it back from them, we'll be able to sell it again, and hopefully we're going to sell it for even more next time. But the hope is that they're going to do well, they're going to continue to make their payments, and they're going to make payments to us. Now we're going to buy it, or when I say we, I'm talking about you. If you buy it from us, you're going to buy it for less than we sold it on a land contract, which means there's a spread there. They're also paying 10% interest. So with the difference between the spread and the 10% interest, your return on the investment is going to be between 15 and 18%. Let me show you one that I'm talking about so you can see the kind of deal that I'm describing here.
I'm taking you to my push-button method website. This is actually, it's one of the clone sites that we created from the push-button method site, and you could have your own site just like this, by the way, if you either got the pushbuttonmethod.com program, or if you were in my mentor program. We get these things set up. They're very cool, and the nice thing about these is that any listings I have on my site, you would also be able to get on your site if you chose to. You don't have to have them, but if you'd like to have my listings on your site, you can do that, and that way if you found a buyer for them, you could send me the lead and I'd give you a cut on the deal. And it's the same with my other students. We've got about 500 properties for sale, investment properties for sale, that you can do this with if you're part of that process. So if you're interested in finding out more about that, go to pushbuttonmethod.com and find out about that. But I digress. I've got these listings on my site here, so if you wanted to go to, you could go to stoppayingrенtamerica.com. I don't know if these particular listings are going to still be here when you when you come, because we're selling them pretty quickly, and it's likely that we'll have them sold by the time you even see this video. But and if there aren't any more on here at the time, it just means we haven't gotten around to putting them up there yet, and just contact me and I'll let you know what we've got available at the time, because these are some pretty interesting deals. If you see, we've got, here's one that's in Kansas City, Missouri. It's the price to you would be $22,000. We're showing an 18% cash-on-cash return on this little house. Let's go take a look at the full listing of it. Got some other pictures available, just so you can see what it looks like on the inside. Remember, we didn't do any work at all to these properties, and we sold them on a land contract. If you scroll down the page here, you're going to see, and by the way, if you want to see what this property looks like on HomeGain or Trulia or Zillow, all you have to do is click and it'll open up and show you the values that these particular areas think this property is worth, which is kind of a nice feature. And you can get a map to it, and you can do mortgage calculator, all sorts of cool stuff on our site. Anyway, this explains how it's going to work. What we're doing is selling it for $22,000, which is about 66% of the land contract sale price, because we sold it to land contract buyers for $33,453 on a 15-year note with 10% interest. There's no management on this. It's all done by a loan servicing company. And you can look at these properties on the, again, I gave you links to them so you could go look at them. The contract buyer is paying $350 a month. They're covering their own taxes and insurance, which we, by the way, are having the loan servicing company collect to make sure it's being paid. So we want them to escrow it. So we break it up into 12 months and we have them pay the loan servicing company. The loan servicing company costs $20 a month, so not too much. And so essentially what you're doing, you're buying the house for $22,000. You're going to be able to collect on $33,000 at 10% over 15 years. So over 15 years, you're going to be making payments. They're going to be making payments to you that are going to bring you, after you pay the property manager, or well, in this case, loan servicing company, $330 a month. That's $39.60 a month. That's an 18% return on your money, and it's a nice. Within what, just 5 years, a little over 5 years, you're going to have all your money back. In the next 10 years is going to be 100% profit. Where else can you put your money that you can get this kind of return? If you go to this site, you can read this whole explanation. It's pretty much what I've been telling you here in this video. But you know, the house doesn't have to be beautiful to make you a lot of money. And these clearly are not beautiful properties. Let me just go back, though, and just show you that we have them in Chicago, we've got them in Michigan, we've got them in Ohio. Here's another one, Ohio. Here's New Jersey. Here's Missouri. Here's Detroit. Here's Tennessee. We have them all over the place because the buyer is buying them in bulk. Then they go out and get them into, you know, at least livable shape, and then they sell them on land contract to these folks.
All right. Well, this is just sort of an example of the type of properties we get. We sell a bunch of these, so we're constantly going through them. This one that's on this screen is probably not available right now, but there's others. And if you're interested, you can go to my website, stoppayingrentamerica.com, and take a look at some of the things that we've got available. Not all of them on there are this type of property, but look for the ones that are well defined. Usually the ones at the beginning are the ones that we're talking about. And then I've got a bunch of other properties on there as well that you can buy on lease option and lots of other ways as well. So go look at the site, and if you're interested, give me a call. If you've got the money to invest, and you're going to need cash to invest in these properties, you can't buy them on terms. These are cash investments. You can use your money from your home equity line. You can use your IRA. You can use capital you've got in the bank, or you can convert some of the money you've got in stocks and perhaps move it over to real estate investments, where you're going to get a much higher return on that money. And you don't have to worry about management. So some really nice things about these types of investments. All right, thanks now.